Trust in a marriage, it's like what a foundation is to a building. No building can survive without a strong foundation. No marriage can last without trust. And when trust is broken, you pretty much don't have a marriage. But there is a way that you can rebuild trust after it's broken. And in this episode, in this video, I will share with you 4 key things that you need to do in order for you to rebuild trust if it's broken. And may I say this to you, if you missed one step, you have breached them all. You have to go back to the first one if you have missed one. So I want you to grab your seat and I want you to get closer because we're going to unpack this and help you to rebuild what you have lost because of your issues. So let's have this conversation. Welcome back to the show. If you're new, I am Doran, and this is Not Easily Broken. And on the show, we help couples who are frustrated, have trust issues, communication issues, and problems in your marriage to help you to build a better, healthy marriage through our GRACE framework. Yes, GRACE. G.R.A.C.E. GRACE. It is a biblical, applicable, practical, logical plan of action that will help you to build a better life and a better marriage. So let us go deep. Now, what are the 4 things that you need in order for you to rebuild trust in your marriage? Number 1, you need transparency, you need accountability, you need consistency, and you need vulnerability. Oh, yes, absolutely. These are necessary. And if you skip one, you have breached them all. And I got to tell you that today's episode falls squarely under the A in the GRACE framework. Agree to honor and respect the covenant of marriage. Genesis chapter 2 and verse 24. The two shall become one flesh. Trust is not a feeling. Trust is the soil that covenant grows in. When trust breaks, the covenant doesn't end, but the soil has been damaged. The soil is now marred and it is now scarred. It needs to be rebuilt. And it has to be rebuilt in a specific order. So let us talk about these order that they need to be rebuilt in. And before I give you these steps, I want to ask you a big favor. If you are getting value from this video already, I want you to take a moment and hit that like button. It is absolutely the best way that you can show your support for this channel, for this content, so that more people can be able to reach it. If it is good for you, I promise you, just liking the video is a big way to say to the algorithm that other people need to hear this message too. So let's get into it. Step number 1, transparency. There is no love without transparency. And see, my friend, here is where most couples get this wrong. They confuse transparency with apology. You see, my friend, an apology says that I'm sorry, but transparency says that here is everything. I am laying it all out to you. I'm not holding back anything. Ask me anything. I am naked. I ain't got no shame no more. I throw myself at the mercy. Here I am. You know, the Bible tells us in Proverbs chapter 28 and verse 13, it says, whoever conceals their sins does not prosper, but the one who confesses and renounces them find mercy. I want you to notice the order. Notice, confess and renounce, not hide and hope. You see, my friend, transparency moves in a specific order. Transparency also means open phone. That's the order. Open calendar. Open inbox, open whereabout, open social media. Not because your spouse is your warden or your security guard. No, but because you're rebuilding what was broken, and walls in a wounded marriage feels more like wounds. I'm trying to help you. And if you broke the trust, transparency is not an attack on your privacy, my friend. It is the gift that you give to the person you wounded. And here is the hard truth. If you resist transparency, you are not ready for step 2. No, you're not. Because you cannot move forward until your spouse can stop wondering what's hiding. I'm talking about period. Full stop. So if you have a transparency problem, you're not serious about healing your marriage because the person you hurt is important enough for you to be transparent, right? Did you know that you can't heal a person you hurt until you fix the pain that caused the hurt? Let us move to step number 2, accountability. Oh, yes. You know, my friend, accountability is not control. Control says, I will watch you so you don't slip up. But accountability says, I will invite trusted people into my life, into my world, so that I can grow, so that I can become a better version of me. That's a big difference. You see, accountability looks like this: a pastor, that you're seeking counsel from, or a mentor, or a counselor like myself that you're seeking help from, a same gender friend who has permission to ask hard questions. They're not yes man to you or yes ma'am to you. It looks like therapy. Yes, therapy is needed to go to the deep rooted trauma and areas of your life that you probably need to unpack. It looks like recovery group if addiction is in the picture. It looks like reporting in, and telling wife, I'm home. Not because your spouse demanded, but because you understand that the person, come on now, the person you hurt wants to know that you are creating an environment that they can thrive in, that they feel safe in. And the person you are becoming needs help. Talk to me. You know, my friend, Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 9 and 10, it talks about two are better than one. If either one fall down, one can help the other up. You know, we read this a lot and we automatically just, assign it to married couple. Two are better than one. Absolutely. Two shall become one. It takes two people to get married, right? A man and a woman, right? But the reality is that this also apply to accountability partner. It applies to someone that is helping you to navigate you and walk you through some of these problems that you're dealing with. And so accountability is important. You need a circle. Oh, come on now, talk to me. You need a circle of people that you can trust. If you skip accountability, transparency becomes performance. You'll show your phone, but you won't change your heart. Let us talk about step number 3, consistency. And this is where most couples get tired. Consistency is the long, the quiet middle. Yes, it's not dramatic. No, it's not exciting. It is the same right behavior repeated in private and in public when you feel like you want to throw in the towel. When you feel like, when your spouse is not watching you. It's when the weight and the gravity of everything that you're going through really comes at you. That's when you need true consistency. You know, my friend, let me go a little bit deeper here. The scripture tells us in Luke chapter 16 and verse 10, it says, whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. Did you get that? You see, trust is built in the very little. The text on time, the truth told without asking. You see, my friend, the temptation walked away from when no one would ever know. The promise kept on Tuesday, no one remembered. Here is something that nobody tells you. Consistency takes longer than you want it to. Sometimes it takes months, sometimes more than a year. And you see, my friends, during that stretch, your spouse may still flinch. They feel closed off, still cry, still doubt. That is not failure. That is healing on God's timeline, not yours. And see, if you quit consistency early, if you start demanding to be trusted before you earned it back. You collapse the first two steps and you're back to square one. You're back to zero. So please, I want to ask you to stay the course. Step number 4, vulnerability. This is where trust becomes intimacy again. You know, vulnerability comes from the Latin word vulnus. It means wound, which means that you are putting yourself in a position where you have the possibility of getting hurt. And so when vulnerability is nurtured, you feel safe again. This is where you stop being two people managing a wound and start being one flesh again. Vulnerability, sounds like, here's what I'm afraid of. Here's what I am hoping for. Here's where I still feel hurt. Here is where I am growing. It is the slow reopening of the heart. But I want you to notice this. Vulnerability is last. It's not first. So many couples try to fast forward to emotional intimacy before transparency, before accountability, and before consistency have done their work. And it doesn't work. You may have great sex after trust is broken. I know people after adultery, they said it's the best sex that they've had in a long time. Of course, because there's more attention being poured towards you. The distance that you felt, it feels like they're working hard to close that void, to close the gap. But I'm telling you, it doesn't work that way. You can't be safely vulnerable with someone who hasn't yet proven safe. The Bible tells us in Genesis chapter 2 and verse 23 that this is bone of my bone. This is now flesh of my flesh. I will call you woman because you came out of me. You see, my friend, that language is the language of vulnerability because that is two people unguarded, and that fall under the C in the grace framework. Connect deeply. And that pillar is about vulnerability. It is the destination to be vulnerable, to be intimate, to feel safe, to have relational equity, to have intimacy, to have deep and meaningful friendship. But the trust is the road that gets you there. You earn the right to be soft again. And listen, when you do, it's worth it. It's worth all the steps that you've taken to get here. But you cannot bypass all of these steps. No, you can't. So can I tie it all into the grace framework? This is why this video is under the A in the grace framework. Agree to honor the covenant of marriage. Trust isn't a feeling you fall back into. Trust is a covenant honored. Trust is a covenant honored by transparency, by accountability, by consistency, and by finally, it is honored by vulnerability. Because if you cannot be vulnerable, you cannot be intimate. Each step honor the one you wounded. Each step honors God. Each step honor the marriage you're fighting for. Genesis chapter 2 and verse 24, it tells us that the two become one flesh. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother and cleave to his wife, and the two shall become one. That's oneness, covenant. And when that oneness is broken, it has to be rebuilt in order, and it must be rebuilt on purpose. So let us close this. What does this mean for you? So here's your homework assignment. Identify the step you skipped. Was it transparency? Was it accountability? Was it consistency? Or was it vulnerability? Be honest. Then go back to that step, not the next one, the one that you missed. And my friend, if you want help walking through this with a real plan, real support. Now, if you want free one-on-one, then you can probably book a free consultation so we can find out where you are. But I thank you for watching. May God continue to bless you and your marriage. And I will see you in the next video. Ain't it great?